What's up guys, my name is Andy. In this video, I'm going to be replacing the fuel line that goes from the fuel pump to my carburetor on my 360 FE engine and my 1968 F100 with this fuel line kit. And it comes with the fuel line and all the fittings. It's the same kit that I have on my Mustang, and so I want to put it on my truck too. So let's take a look at what comes in the kit. So what's included is you get the fitting that goes into the fuel pump, then you get this right angle piece that goes from the 6AN fitting into connecting to the fuel line here, and then on the other end of the fuel line we're going to have this, and this has a female 6AN fitting to hook up to your carburetor depending on what you have, and we can talk about those fittings. But this is what comes in the kit, and there's 3 feet of hose here, so plenty of hose for what you know. I think we need around 27 inches or so to make it fit, so we got extra there, so we're going to be good. This is going to be a pretty simple install, so let's jump right in. We're just going to get the air cleaner out of the way, make it simple for the install. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to disconnect the fuel line right here. Now depending on what carb you have, you might have different settings, different fittings and stuff like that. So we've got a 1/2-inch wrench we'll put on this, and I got to put a 7/8 wrench on this guy. Separate those. We'll put a towel under here in case there's any fuel still in the line. Now I'll go after the fittings down here on the bottom on the fuel pump. Now there's no reason to throw this fuel line away. You might want to hold on to it just in case you need it for something else, but we're not going to need it anymore for what we're doing. Now in my application, I'm not going to need these fittings right here. I've got a 6AN female 90 degree, and then this went from 6AN to a 1/2 20 inverted flare. I'm not going to need those pieces for this setup, so I can go ahead and remove them. But what I am going to need is this guy right here. Now this is not included in the kit because it depends on what kind of setup you have. You know, we have an idle block carb or a dual bowl, a Holly carb where you've got dual feed lines. So the kit it stops at a female 6AN fitting, and then from there you can buy fittings to go to a barb fitting, or you can go to 6AN or whatever. But I do need this piece for this particular application, so I'm going to install this guy. This is just a right angle 6AN female to male, and it'll thread right onto this fitting that I've got here in the carb. And I'll just leave it loose for now. We'll tighten this up at the end. So on the fuel pump, we can go ahead and install this fitting, get this thing tightened down, because we're going to need that. So from here, we want to get the length figured out. Now I can go ahead and put the fitting on this end that's going to connect up down by the fuel pump. I could put that in so we get an idea of where this is going to sit. And you got to figure out where you want to route it. I'm going to just bring it right underneath my spark plug wires right through here. And we're going to come up right like that. Give yourself enough room so that things aren't tight. You don't want this thing, really you don't want it resting on anything if you can help it. But when we put this in here, it's going to look something like that, so I got to cut off some on the end here, but let's go ahead and put the fitting on this end, and then we can figure out how long it needs to be. So we can unthread this guy, and what we're going to do here is we're going to take the tape off of the end here, because we don't want this in the way. And then we're going to slide this cap over the end, try to make sure all of the little stainless steel little fingers and fibers and stuff are kind of captured in here. And this has a taper fitting to it, so it'll help drive everything down inside there. Just take your time and make sure that it's on all the way. And then we want to seat this thing to the bottom. If you have to twist it, that's okay. Not going to hurt anything. We just want this thing is seated all the way to the bottom, and you can look inside here. And it's hard to see on the camera, but the hose is going to bottom out on the back side of this fitting. So if you were to look on this end, there's a seat down inside there that it's going to rest against. And there's a little bit of junk just sticking out. I want to get that cleaned out. And then once that's down all the way, we can go ahead and thread this guy in here. And it's going to be a little bit of work. If you have some AN wrenches, it'll be great because it won't tear things up. I've got one for the 6AN, for this size. I don't have one for this size. This is I think this is a 3/4 inch, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, so now that's on there. Now we're going to go ahead and just kind of do a dry fit and see what the length needs to be up inside the truck here. All right, we'll just feed this guy in here. And we're just gonna, again, just loosely thread it on here. We're gonna take it back off, so. And then from here, you're gonna wanna figure out what works best for your application. I don't wanna get in the way of the distributor. I'd like it to sit more or less just kind of right there. Yeah. Something like that. So then, once you get it where you want, we can mark with a Sharpie where we're going to cut it. Now remember, the end of it's going to be just in front of this fitting here, so make sure you get everything where you like it. Yeah, right about there. So I'm going to cut it right about here. Just mark it for now. And then we can just take it back off. All right, so here's our mark. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a piece of tape over that, and I'm gonna put the middle of the tape on the middle of the mark here, because I'm just gonna cut in the middle of the tape. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm gonna have to cut this hose down, but I don't wanna screw up any of the braiding on here, the stainless steel braid. So if I put this tape on here and I cut it, it'll keep all of the fibers and everything down and try to keep it clean before we mess everything up. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna cut right here. Now you can use a die grinder, you can use a jigsaw, a bandsaw, a hacksaw, whatever you've got to cut that. Just take your time and just cut right through the middle of the tape and you'll be done. And then just like that, you've got two pieces. So we can go ahead and take the tape off. Now, I didn't cut this as well as I'd liked, so I had a little bit of the flaring of the pieces of the stainless steel braid on here, and I think because I just cut it too fast, that's on me, but when you guys do it, just make sure you take your time and you should be all right. Yeah, see how it kind of flares out a little bit? I don't like that. It makes it a little harder for it to fit in here, but we can get it done. And then before you know it, you're going to have this piece installed. Now there's threads on the inside here, and if you spin it backwards, if you spin it counterclockwise, it'll help thread this thing on here and it'll drive itself on. Cool, so now we could put this piece on and continue with our build. And then before you know it, you'll be done, ready to install in the truck. So just a heads up, these are aluminum, so if you have to reef them down too much, there's something wrong, and you do need to be patient with the stainless steel braiding on here. Sometimes it helps if you were to kind of capture a bunch of the little ends, little fiber pieces in there, and then take a flathead screwdriver and you can kind of push down on the edge here, and that'll continue to drive those in there and get them all set up. Then you can, again, thread it backwards, and the threads inside here will grab that and thread it on, and then you can put this piece on. Cool, so let's get it in the truck. Alrighty, we'll throw this guy in here. Again, we're just gonna thread everything on just in place, get it where we want, and then we can tighten everything down. There, I like that. And then, cool. Let's tighten everything down. All right, that's where we want it. Everybody's happy? All right. So next you're gonna wanna fire up the truck and make sure that there are no leaks and tighten anything if you need to. But other than that, I like this look. Now some people don't like the silver. Maybe they wanna do black, and that's also available. Black, the braided line there. I like this, and I like that it's not symmetrical. Yes, I'm trying to make a big deal about my spark plug wires looking nice and neat, but I like this piece. It kind of feels like a race part, much like the throttle linkage up there and stuff like that. So I'm very happy with that. So you're probably wondering, where do you get these parts? Well, I actually sell these parts on my website, KruseBuilt.com. You can get the stainless steel braided line color, the silver color, or you can get a black color. It comes with the same fittings. Again, that one right angle fitting up here on my carburetor, that's something I needed for this particular application, but it does come with that female 6AN end on there, and then you can hook it up to whatever setup you have on your rig. So other than that, yeah, that's where you get it, KruseBuilt.com, if you want to check that out. And then I've got a bunch of other parts that I've been selling, that throttle linkage that I've got on here and stuff like that. So, and then parts for the Mustang. So if you guys want to check those out. But yeah, fuel line's done. I like it. On to the next project. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.